Danny's going to share tons of knowledge with you guys. I mainly really wanted Danny to hit on client events. However, let's start by you giving them a little bit of your background, just a quick, how long in the business, tell them a little bit about yourself and your team and where you're located, all that stuff.
Perfect. So I'm out of Cincinnati, Ohio. And actually I just hit 3 years in the business a couple of days ago. I just had my 30th birthday yesterday. So I'm a little bit younger. Thank you. So that's just where I am in life. And real estate, I actually worked for a custom home builder in 2017. Before that, I was in market research. So I had a couple of positions that kind of set me up perfectly for real estate with a background specifically in branding and in market research, which was like, this might make sense by the end of this. I was the focus group guy at tables that would like ask questions and, oh, tell me more about that. And in-home interviews with people, basically for the Procter & Gamble and Johnson & Johnsons of the world, to help them with kind of broad scoping consumer research. Went from there, a guy at my church actually was a builder, custom builder here in the area that does multi-million-dollar homes. Context wise, and this is a fun story if anybody ever wants to ask, I actually made $0 for over a year working for him. I couldn't sell anything. His product was overpriced for the market. And he was in the market that he started in. It was great, but I was kind of kicking off a new market for him. So relationship building is my thing, but it got to the point where even the people that really liked me would look at me and say, hey, you know what? We really like you, but your product is so overpriced. We can't do this. So we're going to go build with this guy for $50,000 cheaper. And what do you do except high five somebody and say, congrats, I guess. Like I would do the same thing. But I met during that time, a realtor who ran a team. And I'll never forget, he was 28 years old, driving a nice car, playing a lot of golf, really nice guy, and was running this team of people. And it was the most I'd ever seen something look like the sports teams that I had been a captain of through high school and college. So as a soccer and basketball and baseball guy, I looked at that and thought, that's what I want to do. There are people around that person. So when I started real estate, the goal was never be a powerhouse individual agent. It was always create a brand, create a team, and then bring people in with a like mindset. And God's really blessed that journey. So in 3 years, last year we did 101 deals at like 22, 23 million. This year we're on pace for about 40 million, hopefully more, but that's kind of the pace right now, and maybe 150 to 175 deals. I have a team of 6 now within my exact group, the Barron Group. I have 3 full-time agents, my director of operations, who seriously makes my world go round, and is one of my best friends. He's in my wedding coming up. He's just an amazing guy. And then we have 3 other people on our ops team working as well. So kind of context-wise, we're now 7, and we love doing client events. I'm excited to share kind of the specifics of how that makes the engine run, but I've actually never spent $1 in 3 years on like specific lead gen. I've never paid Zillow $1 or Realtor.com. We've never paid for a lead. So it's all just within the sphere, perking the sphere, and working the actual people within our network to really try to bless them in the process, but also just have a ton of fun with them. So I'll finish with this, and then you can go whatever direction you want. Anything that I do in my business, Dana, there's 2 goals. It needs to make me more trusted, and it needs to make me more fun in the eyes of our people and my people. Because life in real estate, we know this. Anybody listening to this, real estate can be run, your business can be run completely differently from everyone else's. That's the beauty of the industry. You can do it your way and the way that works best for you. And the way that works best for me is to actually love the people in my sphere, because that's me in real life. Anything short of that, people can tell if it's off-brand or salesy from me. I don't want to sell to anybody. I just actually want to be best friends with everyone and be able to work with them. And that's a joy for them when they have a realtor that's not schmoozing them all the time. And instead of, even for me, like it would be off-brand for me to bake cookies and leave them on the doorstep. But it's not off-brand for me to create sweet t-shirts, take everybody to a Reds game and give them a t-shirt. So I try to find that lane where it feels natural, but at the same time, people are actually getting a benefit out of it. It's not just about us. It's actually about providing something back to them. So that's kind of the basis of our business.
Okay. You said so many things quickly. I want to unpack. Oh my gosh. And we're going to have a limited amount of time. Okay. One of my favorite quotes ever is Craig Groeschel. And he says, people would rather follow a leader that's real than a leader that's right. Mm-hmm. And the thing that I love about you, Danny, is what you just said. What you do for your people is authentic and natural for you to do. And it might not be for somebody else on this event today. However, what I want them to hear is that they need to figure out what is authentic and real for them to do, and just go out and love people and bring value. And Linda and I just did a podcast last night, and we were talked about this morning on Wednesday Morning Mindset. just waking up every day to bring value to other people. And when you do that, success follows and money follows and everything else comes into place. So I love that you shared that. And I know that that's how you are as a person. And I love that that folds over into your business life. And I didn't know that your two goals were to be more trusted and to be more fun. And I love that, because when I think about you and what you do, like, I want to be a part of it. It's fun. You know what I mean? You have the fun factor. And you know, I love a good t-shirt, which I know you do too. So, okay. So your events. So yes, last week I had a conversation with an agent who wanted to get out of coaching. And she said to me, I'm just not really getting the value. And I'm at a point where I either need to go buy leads or I need to get out of the business.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to cry. I was like, what? No, why? You know, so talk to us about how you said you've never paid for a lead. I know you followed Perk Your Sphere. I used to do that too. It's such a great thing. And then how did that lead you into your client events? And I don't want to spoil, but I want to let them know that you just had a client event that had how many people in attendance?
We had over 1,000. Yeah. So that was a Reds game. And that was just like the pinnacle of everything we've built all came together at once. And seriously, during the COVID era, we were kind of banking on it being a smaller event and it just blew up. So that was awesome.
Over 1,000 people at your client event. So walk us through, how did you start with your events to like this wow factor event?
Yep. So business wise, right? If you back up, anything that is successful has a core. In any business, you can have adjacent things you're focusing on. You can do this or work with this type of client or whatever, but you have to have your thing. And so for me, my two things have always been social media and then the way that that ties into events. I listened to a podcast, and this is my favorite thing to touch on because it's funny how I actually found out who it was. It was on the Real Estate Rockstars podcast. So anybody who wants this, you can just search Real Estate Rockstars events and it'll pop up. It's episode 500 something. And it was with a guy named Michael Marr, who I didn't know who he was at the time. And I think he was a Texas agent. And he basically said on this podcast, I got up to the point where I was doing 500 deals a year and I never bought a lead. Has my attention, Dana. I'm not a cold caller. I'm not an expireds person. I have never and will never call a for sale by owner. I'm serious. Unless the market just does something my mind can't comprehend and my people all run away, I would hate this job if I did that. I would hate it. It doesn't mean that I couldn't sell more houses if I did it, but everyone on this call understands that the quality of life, you can always do something else. I've never gone to bed thinking, oh, well, I did everything I could do as a realtor. Like, you could always call someone else or do something else. For me, I want to spend that time where the time is most valuable, and then spend time in life with my fiance and my friends and with my church. So for me, the events took off. This podcast kind of laid it all out there. And this is some Keller Williams speak for you. We are supposed to have 36, 40 touches a year per client. So how does that happen? It's just tossed out there in things like the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. Oh, you need to call people on this schedule. You need to do emails. You need to do this and this. And I read that and I totally get it, because I was in the top of mind brand awareness space before being in this industry. But what I didn't like was the idea that I had to call people up to 40 times a year. That sounds terrible to me. Even my friends, if I just call them just to check in, they're like, what's wrong? Like, right, they just see right through me. They're like, you don't mean this. What do you want from me? I just want your leads. Like, that's a horrible way to go. So I remember calling 5 or 6 people specifically when I first got my license. And I swear one of them will never talk to me again because it was so awkward. And I'm like, I can't do this. This is off brand for me. I don't like this. If I put up an Instagram story, 500 people see it, Dana. So why am I calling people? It didn't click for me of what in 2020 or 2018 at the time that was supposed to look like. So for me personally, what happened was this podcast, he talked about events, and he said, if you have one event, how many touch points do you think you can get out of it? And when he started talking about this, the way that you invite people ahead of time, kind of in a mass email, and then in my mind, here's the Danny abridged version. How many, and this would be, if we were in a room, I would have people answer, how many touch points do you think you can get out of an event? And what I say is easily 10. Easily per event. And this was the kicker for me from this podcast. And then I'll kind of go into details of my stuff. He said, the event doesn't actually matter. As a realtor, the event does not actually matter. And I will spin that and say it does, because you can do something amazing for your people and not just a self-serving thing, but actually bless people with an awesome, fun time. But the event in and of itself for marketing does not matter. What matters is the fact that you can send them a Facebook invite to the event, that you can jump into actually calling them with a reason and inviting them and saying, I really want you to be there. You can shoot texts out. You can go ahead and send out an Eventbrite. We RSVP on RSVPify. I throw up Instagram stories. We make a video or two before every single event and put those out. We have a ton of fun with those. I can stop there because everyone can see how you can get 10 touch points per person, mass emails before that event ever happens. If that happens, then you have your event. And in this case, we had 1,000 people. That's incredible. But that took a long time to get there. That was not the start. After the event, you can also follow up with people. This is my greatest advice for anyone doing an event that I messed up my first time. And I'll tell you that in a second. I personally have a photographer and a videographer at every single event, because what they do is capture those things that it won't just last for a moment, but it creates a brand and an element and lasting value for your people and for your own personal pages to be able to share into the world or your website forever. So we have just an events tab on our website now that has a video and photos from every single event we've ever done.
Love that. That's a great nugget right there, because you're telling the story.
Yep. And we then share all that stuff. People immediately download those photos on Facebook, put them on their personal Instagram and tag us and thank us for taking them. And then their friends are like, who did this? Why were you at a Reds game with a free t-shirt? And who gave you the Cracker Jacks? Like, what just happened? So that entire element, just document it. Just document it. It doesn't need to be the way that I do it. We do a 2 to 3 minute highlight video of every event. And my video guy gets direct instruction from me. Get every single person in this video. If it's 1 second of their face, they will watch it back, and I want them to see themselves, and then they'll never forget.
So true.
So that piece of it, that follow-up, then think how many more touch points you're getting just out of those photos. If you tag people and then their people see it and ask about it, not to mention people talk about a fun event for the next month afterwards. So I truly think we're in the 10 to 15 touch point per client per event phase for people that actually come or are interested. And then the final piece on that podcast, he's like, great, now do 4 a year, done. Do 1 every 3 months. There's 40 plus touch points. Congratulations. You just did all of your lead generation and you never bugged anybody. And the piece of it, and I'll finish with this and then you can say anything, Dan. He said, you know what people don't get mad about? He said, people don't get mad about an invitation to something. Even if they don't want to come, they're still pumped you invited them. And then they're going to say no right to your face. But they won't forget that they were invited. You know what people do get mad about? When you call and ask them for something. He said, you are no longer asking for something. You are offering something. And when you do that, people won't cringe when they hear your name. And at this point, that podcast was so long ago and so impactful for me. I don't know what is that as a Danny paraphrase versus what he said. But this is the piece. And I mentioned before, I didn't know who he was. Michael Maher wrote the 7 levels of communication. And I didn't know that. And I read that book later on and realized, oh my gosh, this is the same dude. And he's brilliant. And that book is all about sphere building. And even within your network and your business, it talks about like a guy who consistently has lunches with his lenders and his title companies and home inspectors, and people start to naturally send referrals to them. And I'm just telling you, you can't quantify from our events. Like when 1,000 people come to an event and then someone reaches out the next week about buying a house and they were either there or their friend was there, you don't quite know how that worked, of how that got back to them. But I can just tell you right now, that lead generation funnel for us of the events and social media brings in almost everybody. So I'll pause there. And if you have any questions.
Okay, yeah, we have some questions. Okay, so Kellyanne wants to know what percentage of RSVPs are actually showing up. So how many are you inviting, and then how many are RSVPing, and then how many are showing up?
So there's 2 pieces to this. Client events for me are not client events. They are events. So this is a lead generation event, which is a clarification. So what it does do, we all struggle with following up with past clients. Isn't that such a tough thing? Like to maintain the relationship. You're in this group text with the husband and wife for 3 months, you're fast friends, and then you sell them a house and then you never talk to them again. Like it's a really weird industry like that. And I'll get texts, and you guys probably, this happens to you too. You get a text in that group every once in a while, like, we miss you. And I'm like, oh, I miss you too. I just kind of forgot you were alive because I'm still selling 100 houses a year. But I love you guys and I want to stay in touch. all of those
So
people
true.
come to our events. They all come and they see us and they bring their kids and they get their Reds t-shirt and hang out at the game with us. And they get to talk to me for 5 minutes. We get a picture together. It's all of the missing factor of I'm not good at dropping apple pies on front porches. I'm just not good at that. Handwritten notes are the death of me. I do them when I have to, but I just can't sit down and crank out 50 a day. It's just not my thing. Some people love that. What I love is a quick loving text message to somebody and a invitation to our event where I actually get to see them. So, and in my
Are you
world,
having 4 a year?
we're doing 4 a year, one every 3 months. Yep. And so that the piece of that I want you to see is we had for this event about a 90% rate of people that RSVP'd did show up, but we just put this RSVP link out into the universe and we say, if you're a client, friend, or family, please sign up, comma, bring anyone you want. Like in my world, anybody's a lead. Anybody that wants to come to my event, I'll pay the $9 for them to come and they will remember that forever. And even if it's 5 years from now, if they send somebody our way, the payoff is just, it's ridiculous. So, and when we're not paying the $10,000 a month to Zillow and whatever else, the piece for us that I'm like, I'm going to pour money into my people and this generation strategy, as opposed to what I think, Dana, personally will not be a good long-term strategy in the industry is buying leads from somebody. Because when those leads dry up and then people that don't know you stop calling you, I don't see that as a long-term win. For me, I see these people right now, we are top of mind for them. And when I ask our people, well, I love the question, how many realtors do you know? Because everybody knows 2. The people that know 3, I'm like, oh, well done, you actually know 3. But I'm always first on their list when they're my people because we are in touch with them so much about these events.
Well, you're their TOMA, top of mind awareness. And that's what every agent on this Zoom and watching this later recorded needs to understand, that you have to wake up and be their TOMA. You have to be their top of mind awareness. Do you, we have a couple questions and I have questions too. So Susan said, at the events, how much do you make it obvious that it is a real estate event? You kind of touched on, she said, I assume friends come. How do you follow up? She's shy about pushing her brand, etc. What would you say about that?
I would say someone else might handle this differently. I once had a lender tell me, he's no longer my partner lender, and you'll know why in 5 seconds. He once said, okay, so at the event, I'll take like 15 minutes and share about, I said, whoa. Let me just stop you there. We're not talking about real estate. It has nothing to do with real estate. It has nothing to do with your lending or my realtor fact. It has nothing to do with anything. And that was back when I was by myself throwing these events before I even had a team. People used to call them Danny parties, Dana, because they were like, we don't know what this is, but you're paying for us to go to a trampoline park, so we'll show up. Like we don't know why. And so the questions have stopped coming in about why. And now the question is always, when's your next one? Like people have picked up on this, that like, oh, this is a thing. And not only is it free for us, it's actually really fun for us. So it's not awkward anymore. It's just expected. But to anyone watching, there is that barrier at the beginning. People are like, what are you doing? Why is this happening?
And what do you say? What's your answer if someone says that?
For me at that time, I said, I am trying to give back to my clients. And obviously I'm trying to build a business. And I just want to have fun with the people I love. And that is from the bottom of my heart, my genuine answer to this day is, I love this. I want to bring people together and I want to be able to provide value to people that have worked with me or the ones that are going to. And I'm telling you, people don't introduce me, Dana, as like, this is our realtor. He really negotiated hard for us. They're like, this is the guy that did the pizza thing in the Reds game. Like, that is how I come across to people now. And I'm like, is that fun and trusted? Like, it's definitely fun. And then if they can throw any trust factor in there of having worked with me too, that's great. But I'm literally like the Reds game guy. And I'm cool with that because people come in with this expectation of, we're going to have a good time. And there's a follow-up to that afterwards. It's not just going to stop whenever we buy our house.
Yep. Oh gosh, we have tons of questions. Okay. Shenandoah had my big question. Okay. So let's run quickly through these. Do you make the Facebook event a personal Facebook, or do you put it on your personal or on your business Facebook page? Is it a private or public event?
Yep. Private event. I go in Facebook only lets you invite, this is funny to say only, you can only invite 500 people to an event. So you actually have to be a little bit choosy if you've got a lot of friends. Because the first time I tried to just invite everybody and I was like, So the personal event, this is just, let's back up for a second, because that's a very tactical question. You need a month beforehand. If you're not starting this a month in advance, then you're missing the boat and people won't have time to RSVP, to prepare, to get ready for what you're doing. So let me go back to the first event I ever did. It was a kickoff launch party in real estate. And one of my friends owns a creative meeting space here in the Cincinnati area. It was where my old company worked out of. And one of my best friends is the CEO. So he said, yeah, use the space. And it was just for me at that point in time. People came out to support me. It wasn't so much like, oh, he's really providing value with these pulled pork sliders. So at that point in time, people came out, and I had 175 people come off to my kickoff event before I'd ever sold a house.
Which that's on your YouTube channel. If anybody, go search Danny on YouTube. You guys should subscribe to his YouTube, by the way, also. And he does have that video on there. It's a great video.
So that the pieces of that particular event, I remember, and this is where the event thing started, because I heard the podcast right around this time. I walked away and I was like, that was the greatest night of my life. Without exaggeration, I'm such a people person. Everyone that's ever cared about me ever showed up to that event to support me when I'd never sold a house before. And it was the weirdest thing ever. And I understand that can't happen for everybody. My toes are everywhere, Dana, in sports leagues and church growing up and being in the area with school. Just everything about my life has been in Cincinnati and Dayton, and everyone came. So for that particular event, what I found out was I want to be able to do this again. And I remember thinking at the time, but I can't throw a 1-year anniversary party and do the same thing. No one will come. And that's when that podcast rocked my world. And to be honest, in the podcast, his examples, in my opinion, are kind of lame. He's like, yeah, buy trees and give them away at your office. I'm like, okay, that's cool. But how about we go to a trampoline park instead? Like, that'd be way more fun. So what we started to do with that design is taking that structure of those people coming out and having fun, but making it less about me, which it was in that first event, and making it about them. So a month in advance, having a strategy of, I'm going to post this video first. Then within a day, they're going to get this calendar invite on a personal Facebook page. I tried the business one, and it's like, even with business photos, I struggle with this still. From the events, I actually prefer to put the photos on my personal page, because then I can tag people. It's weird on the business Facebook profile stuff to tag everybody. And I want those things to get out there and for people to see them and be able to share them. So now I also have my team go into that private Facebook event and invite all of their people. We have a link from Rsvpify. What my team crushed this last time was taking that link, texting it to someone and saying, hey, you do need to sign up for this. The deadline is this Friday. I want you there. Here's a link, just click it. And that link, we have the YouTube video, which was our kind of announcement video. So like for the Reds game, Dana, we go down to the stadium and we film a 1.5 minute video saying, hey, we're out here at the stadium. This is what we're doing. This is the event. This is why we're doing this. We're so excited. We don't care who you are. We want you to come. Just click this link and sign up. And I now incorporate all 6 of my team members talking in that video so that their people can see them talking.
Love that.
So think about this as a team lead also, the value you're providing to your team. One of my team members brought 250 people to the Reds game.
Wow.
He didn't pay a cent. So for him, that is a major value add. And I look at real estate a lot differently than the churn and burn people. I'm like, how do I hire someone and keep them forever? I don't ever want them to leave. They're my friends. They are fellow high integrity people that care, because if we're bringing them in, we've highly vetted them to see who they are and seen kind of their background. And once they're here, I want to provide value so that they want to stay. So the event structure for me is a huge thing for my team as well. It's not just about me and building leads. It's also about building camaraderie within our team.
Okay. We have a lot of questions. So, and I have 4 minutes.
I'll be quick, I promise.
A couple, you're doing amazing. I know we need these. My thing is I need these to be all day, but people only want a couple of hours taken out of their day. So I'm like, I gotta go fast. Okay. So a couple like quick, yes or no. Do you send invites through the mail or no?
I do not. I probably should.
Okay. Do you I know you said you give out t-shirts. Do you give out any other swag with your logo?
Depends completely on the event. So some events I have, and this will be a quick answer, but for like a pizza party event where we rented out a pizza place, I actually bought $7,000 worth of gifts into giveaways, sound bars, TVs, coffee tables, all kinds of stuff. For the Reds game, I don't need to give away a coffee table to get you there, because you're going to a Reds game. So the t-shirt, I would say, was actually over the top for the Reds game, but it was such a fun opportunity for us to brand ourselves. And the Reds ended up letting us throw out the first pitch. I got to have one of my clients throw out the first pitch again. So a lot of cool elements there, and the t-shirts were worth it, but that takes your budget way up.
Definitely. Okay. So we're going to get to budget really quick. Do you have them sign in at the events?
I used to. At this point, we get all of their information on the Rsvpify, and I don't care.
Okay.
Or a Reds game. There's too many people.
Right. What info do you get when they sign in? Just basic email address, phone number, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. This was my question. What has been your favorite event you've hosted so far, and what's one that you wouldn't repeat?
Good question. They've all been really fun. So I'll give you the quick scope. We did a trampoline park, a fall festival, ice skating, Reds game twice now, 2019 and then 2021. We did a pizza party at 2 cities. So for me, the ice skating was actually unfortunate. It was supposed to be in downtown Cincinnati and it poured rain that day. So I ended up having to rent an indoor place. And I think 150 people showed up when like 300 had RSVP'd early Saturday morning because it was the only time. So I was on Facebook, like making videos, making the adjustments. That was a bummer. But hear me say this, and we talked about budget really quickly. If your lender and your title company and your home inspector and your insurance person aren't paying for your events, then you're completely missing it. You need to be bringing enough values for them when that conversation happens to say, hey, will you support me on this event? It's not a let me think about it. It's yes, we support you and we will give you whatever money you need for this event. So actually the ice skating, Dana, was a $50 total, because I had all the sponsors pay for that.
Okay, well, that's what we were getting to next is, do you have sponsors, and then about what's your budget per event now?
It's very specific to the event. So I would say the 2 cities one, which was the pizza place that I just mentioned, I had to pay for all the pizza and all those gifts and stuff we gave away. And we supported a ministry that night, which was great. We raised $4,000 for
That's another question. Do you ever have charities attached?
Yeah, this was a ministry in Africa that I've been to visit multiple times for my church, and we were able to raise $4,000 to support them. But on that event, I probably spent $15,000. This past Reds game, I probably spent $20,000, but that's also with maybe $8,000 of sponsor support from other people. And Dana, just think about it. For me, I know people right now that are dropping 10 grand a month on Zillow. That's 2 months of their Zillow. Would you rather have 1,000 people go to a Reds game with you or get a couple Zillow leads? Like, to me,
and let's type in the chat. Would you rather have a warm lead or a cold lead? Which one would you rather work, warm or cold? I think almost everybody would say warm. So I love that. And at the end of the day, if you think about that, let's say you spent 20 grand and you had 8,000 of sponsorship. So you did what, 12,000? I mean, what is that? 2 houses, Danny, to make.
You know, it's deeply ironic is my number one sponsor for that event just bought an $850,000 house with me, which paid for the event plus like 5,000 extra dollars. Like, it's a no brainer in my world when you get to this point for me to chintz on like, oh, let's not buy the sunflower seeds to add into the bags. Cause we did do Baron Group drawstring bags. We've done wristbands. You asked about swag stuff, but back to phone case stuff. You can do and say, or like provide whatever you want. And we've got t-shirt, my director of operations father-in-law actually owns a t-shirt company. So we get great deals on those. And for the last thing I'll say on this, nobody wants a t-shirt that feels like cardboard. Give them the nicest shirt possible. Exact quote the other day from one of my friends. They said, I don't even care what's on your shirts. I wear them all day. I don't care what it is, because it could be blue or red or white, but you give us the most comfortable shirts. I'll answer this one really quick. Is alcohol involved? I have seen a lot of people where it is. For me, it's knowing yourself and your client, right? I don't drink. I'm a Baptist worship leader. And for me, it has nothing to do with judging anybody that does drink. I could care less whatever anybody else does. For me, that's the direction that I've chosen to go. And for me personally, most of my clients have 3 kids and go to church with me. So it would make no sense at all for me to provide to a bunch of Baptist people with kids an alcohol or an open bar event. So it just doesn't make sense. Now, do some of my friends show up and buy 10 beers at the Reds game and get sloshed? I'm like, yeah, we have clients that do that, and they sit in their own section and do whatever they want. And we gave them the ticket. We're not buying their alcohol. We will provide food at certain different events, but I personally, throughout my career moving forward, will never buy anybody alcohol. Just not my thing.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, so I know we're out of time. So the one question that I did want to get, which was something that Michelle asked, for someone that's a newer agent or might have a limited budget, what advice would you give them? And we'll end on that one.
Great question. I'm serious about this, Dana. You just can't be discouraged if no one comes to the first one. It's not about kicking off like crazy. It's about creating a cycle where people understand you're going to provide value to them. And there can be safe events for the first one. It really can be. Why don't you come pick an apple pie up at the office? And then people can come at different times. He talks about in his podcast, his first ever event, I think 8 people came. And the people that walked in, they were like, oh my gosh, did everybody else already come? And he's like, yeah, they came and left, like they're gone already. Really just nobody came. But it's not about that. It's about the buildup. It's about being able to market your team and yourself through the process of creating the event. And then the event itself, you want to have as much fun as possible, but you just can't be discouraged on the first one because people don't know what it is yet. They really need time. I'm telling you, everybody was really confused. They're like, why are you doing this? And budget wise, you don't have to break the bank on the first one. The trampoline park, we kind of paid per head. Obviously a Reds ticket is more RSVP and money driven, but taking people ice skating for $6 is just It's not a huge investment. And if you find some good sponsors, you can spend $50 too on your event. So
Yeah.
however people want to do it, make it you. Don't watch my videos and try to make it me. That's the biggest advice. And don't be discouraged if you don't have 1,000 people, because I'm just telling you, you won't. I only have that now because I have 7 people that we've hired specifically because they know a ton of people and they fit into our strategy. So it's a very pointed strategy.
So okay, I have one more question and we really how many leads or referrals have you received since the Reds game?
So we put, just from the Reds game alone, we put 323 new emails in our database.
Wow.
And I think, you ready for this? Even before the Reds game happened, 2 people under contract that met us through the Reds game. Before it even happened. And neither of them were mine. One was Courtney and one was Johnny. People that reached out and said, hey, we saw you're doing this Reds game thing because our friends shared it and invited us.
Wow.
We are looking for a house. And in that month and a half build up beforehand, they were already under contract. So I'm like, don't tell me it doesn't work, right? Like, it's crazy how that just gets your name out there and the comfort level of people then to interact with you. But it's, Dana, from the events in general, it's, of the 300 houses I've sold in 3 years, it's gotta be, I mean, they're all tied back to that. I can't even separate one except for a random referral that's never heard of me, maybe from a friend.
Yeah.
But that friend came to the Reds game. So it's like, it's all so intertwined. It's tough to comprehend, but that's my example for you, is we seriously got contracts before the game even happened.
You know, what I'll say too is I don't know if you're feeling this. Well, this could be a little bit to your success of the 1,000 people too. After COVID, people are craving relationship and community more than they ever have. So there is no better time to implement the client events or make what you're doing better or any of those things. And I love this so.
I'll leave you with this, Dana, too. We've done a really good job, and this isn't a pat on my back, it's the team as a whole. We did a March Madness event that was completely virtual, which gave away items. We bought a ton of items between $300 and $500, like the Roomba, the ping pong table. And we did a giveaway where people shared our post each week. It was a 5-week event through March.
I love that.
And we had like 700 people sharing our stuff on Instagram. So you don't even have to go out and have an event. You can do something like that. And I wish I had more time to talk specifically on social media, but that piece,
we'll bring you back
into our stuff. Yeah, if you dive into our stuff too.
We'll bring you back. Danny, would you care to just stick around for like 2 minutes and answer any more questions that pop up in the chat? Thank you so much, you guys. Let's give Danny some love in the chat. I know lots of you already have, but I would want to interview every week because you do such a great job.
Thanks,
Thank you for sharing and for all that you do. And I just appreciate you so much.
No crunchy t-shirts. Just remember that.
No crunchy t-shirts. Nope.